Give us any chance, we'll take it. Read us any rule, we'll break it. We're gonna make our dreams come true.
Welcome to Navtastic, a podcast about 8 seasons in a row. I'm Lisa Fernandes, and
I'm Chris Jayawardena. Hello.
And we're reviewing Playing the Roxy, which is the second episode in the 4th season of Laverne, Shirley, directed by Joel Zwick, and written by Paul B. Price and Stephen Nathan. Which is facts about them, don't you, Chris?
I do. So Joel Zwick, this is his first episode for the show, but a lot more to come for the season. He would go on to direct 33 episodes of Laverne and Shirley. He would also go on to work on A Bosom Buddies, Joni Loves Chachi, and he did 100 episodes of Perfect Strangers.
That's cool.
And a lot more, but we'll get to that later. We have plenty of episodes of this guy to cover, so this is just kind of the basic primer of the Mr. Zwick. And just before anyone wonders, I did look it up, and despite popular misconception, he is not related to Edward Zwick, aka I need to put a white savior in all of my movies. But anyway, as to the writing credits, Stephen Nathan got his first writer credit for television with this script, and he would work on 2 more episodes for this season. He would do various TV writing gigs in the 1980s until getting more stability in the 1990s as a producer and writer. And millennials will likely know him best as a writer and exec producer on Bones. But he also did an episode of Making It for Lowell Gans and Mark Rothman. On the other side, Paul B. Price was a bit player through 1960s television, including a spot on Hey Landlord and a regular stint on The Doctors as various characters. And that's The Doctors as in the American television series, not The Doctor, Doctor Who, for those out
or
there.
The Doctors, the reality medical program that exists now.
Ah, yes. Anyway, he got back to acting in the 80s, getting a role on Busting Loose for Gans and Rothman as well. This episode, Playing the Roxy, was also his first writing credit for television, but he would kind of go on to do various scripts off and on, and then work on 9 episodes of The Empty Nest in the 1990s. But the interesting trivia note is he wrote an episode of the Ferris Bueller TV series, which up until doing this recording, I completely forgot existed.
I kind of remember that it existed, and mostly because it ended up going nowhere, and it was like, I think it was a 1-season wonder, right?
Oh yeah, no, it totally was. Jennifer Aniston plays the sister.
Yeah, that's why it was famous. That's why people heard about it later.
Yeah,
I just remember. Sorry, go ahead.
I was also going to say, it also, part of the reason I did have some memory of it, was that it opens with him saying that Matthew Broderick isn't the real him. Ferris Bueller talking to the audience, and so he takes a standee of Broderick as Bueller from the first movie and takes a chainsaw to it.
Yes. I specifically remember that. That actually made it into that book about the worst things that ever happened on television. Laverne, Shirley, and Season 8 actually made it in that book.
Oh, I'm sure they did. Based on what you told me, what you've hinted at me so far.
That incident and its ballsiness, when it couldn't back it up, also definitely made it in the book. So that's exactly what I remember from the pilot before I actually just planned it. We linked it on Twitter. Mostly, I think it failed because Parker Lewis Can't Lose existed at the same time. So there's kind of no need for it. There was no void in which a Ferris Bueller series could have grown because we already had Parker Lewis Can't Lose. Nobody was watching it anyway. Okay, and this is what happened during the episode. The girls' typical morning routine, one including Laverne reading to Shirley from a brand new issue of True Confessions about Roxy Latour, a stripper from Hackensack, New Jersey, who has gone on to become the best exotic dancer in all of North America or Egypt, ends in disaster when Shirley tumbles headfirst down the apartment stairwell while trying to get the mail. When Shirley awakens thanks to Laverne's hard work, Laverne is horrified to realize that Shirley now believes she is Roxy Latour, and thanks to her avid reading and marginal disapproval of the stories in the magazine. The doctor they find says she is experiencing a fugue state, a minor personality change. Eventually she'll come around. Until then, Laverne is advised to keep Shirley at home. Unfortunately, the men in Shirley's life are all too willing to take advantage of her state, as Lenny and Squiggy and Carmine all hope to use her state as Roxy to get her some form of naked. When Roxy finds out that Lenny and Squiggy's new lodge, the Fraternal Order of Bass, are going to be holding a smoker, she agrees to appear and strip. Will Laverne be able to stop her best friend from getting naked in front of a bunch of strangers? What do you think of this episode?
Men are terrible, and women, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
is a rare episode where I want to punch the boys in the balls.
Mm-hmm.
I want to punch Carmine last episode. This is an episode where the boys do not get nearly enough of a comeuppance than they should.
Mm-hmm.
God, do they need... I'm presuming they lost their status as lodge members after what happened.
Oh, yeah.
Presumably they got kicked out.
I mean, there's you get pity sex. This is pity membership.
Yeah.
They pity the pathetic fools. Although, also, I have to say the Fraternal Order of the Bass is one of the most boring secret society men's clubs I could possibly imagine. It looks so dull. I mean, they don't even have a good buffet table there.
No.
The hell,
It
looks
they're not as
awful.
cool
I
as
would
water
hate it.
buffaloes.
What's the point? I mean, what? Oh, you got connections? Like connections with what? What are you guys gonna give me like the leads on like on like I don't know, what am I gonna do, invest in like walnut farming or something? God,
Judging from what the boys say, I guess they just meet and stare at naked women and then go have sex with hookers and strippers in Chicago.
I mean, this is Milwaukee. This is Milwaukee.
Yeah.
This is a dock town. There's plenty of dives and brothels and burlesques all over the place. What the hell is your problem, boys? God.
They go to burlesque houses.
If you're gonna get into smut town, then get into proper smut town, man. Go do something that would make the later era Ed Wood proud.
Lots of strippers tied up. That's the Ed Wood model. It's not enough to get a girl naked. It ain't enough to get a girl naked. She's gonna be tied up, and if she's not tied up, she's gonna be tied up and hopping on her feet so her boobs are bouncing around. That's the Ed Wood's model. That's the Ed Wood model.
God. I mean, I was thinking more of the later Ed Wood when he was writing those supposedly really sleazy smut stories, and like not even Playboy. We're talking like the
Bondage magazine.
Proto hustler practically.
Yeah, proto hustler. I was thinking about his basically his white coater movies he was doing right at the end, and people weren't willing to give him any money, so he just basically doing straight up pornography.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of.
Oh yeah, just it's like those bad fetish videos you find on YouTube.
Yeah.
Anyway, I probably will have to edit in at the beginning that this episode's going to be going down a certain route, but I mean, thankfully, I think our description of the episode will probably do the trick.
Yeah. They shoved this episode at 8 on a Tuesday night. 8:30 on a Tuesday night. Guys. 8:30 on a Tuesday night. Little children were watching this all across the country.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Yes.
Yep.
Go ahead. You're saying.
I mean, it's interesting because I don't mind. Like, here's the thing. Like today, thinking of it in the context of today, if you rebooted Laverne and Shirley, like you remade, and when I say reboot, I mean you remade it. Period. Set in the 1950s, in a contemporary sitcom style today, single camera. It would be Smutsville, for sure. I mean, and even as an R-rated HBO series, I could see it working. I don't think it would be great, to be honest. I think it would completely lose its innocence, and in the process, lose a lot of the charm of the original. But you could do it. But it is wild with this. They've gone away with a lot of stuff in the show before, and it wasn't really until the second time I watched this that the actual striptease itself is pretty damn risque. The way it's the way it's staged, the way it's done, the way it's blocked or unblocked, I guess I would possibly be the word. Although it's got that era appropriate boner killing music. I don't know why it is that's the thing that turns me off. You found that terribly amusing, if I recall.
Yes, you brought this up the first time we watched the episode together, and you mentioned it was a boner killer music, which is just basically a ripoff of the song "Stripper."
Yeah.
Cheapo ripoff of that song.
Anyway, but yeah, through the episode, I mean, it's weird because I did enjoy how the audience is eating this up. They're eating up from go. Like there's that line, my body's a temple, Laverne. You have chosen to treat yours like an amusement park. And you hear like women howling,
Yeah.
And even my mom's response to that was, "Whoa!" Like a very loud. And yes, I did watch this episode with my mother. This is not the most uncomfortable. I watched Jessica Jones episodes with her, and that was awkward. I'll tell you that for free.
I wanted set on pod that I told Chris not to watch this in front of his mom.
It was fine. I mean, she afterwards, because I said, it's like, Mom, so what do you think, Mom? Were you scandalized? She said, I saw Gypsy Lee with Natalie Wood many, many years ago. She said, it was like just like Gypsy Lee. It's no problem. Oh, gosh.
And there's another shout out to Chris's mom.
Yeah. My mom's cool. Yeah.
Love her.
Yeah.
Love her.
But, it's that I found, interesting. And yet it's strange. I hate that I kind of like this episode. It's a bizarre episode, but there's something I kind of like about it. It's just that I don't like the way the men take advantage of her. I like the character of Roxy from the context that it is meant to be a latent part of Shirley's personality, which we have seen glimpses of, when she wants Laverne to share the smutty details of a dream, or when she wants, and it's very telling to me that when, it's a disgusting article, especially the part with the French Foreign Legion. And I'm like, you read it, Shirley, you're just feeling post-fap guilty.
Yeah.
And that's, like, and so that's just, and my point being just that that's part of who she is. And that feels okay. But then it also feels like, I don't know. I'm trailing off.
We know in spite of Carmine's complaining that they are doing something that requires her to use some kind of code in her diary to keep Laverne from finding out what they did.
Oh, yeah.
They're doing some kind of filthy stuff. So, what kind of filth, we don't know.
I still stand by. For Shirley to have made some of those kisses work on Carmine, second or third base is definitely in the cards.
Yeah. Like, of course they're doing stuff. Of course this is a part of her personality. The only bit of the story that gets really, really offensive is how willing Carmine and the boys are to kind of jump in and do anything to see her naked.
Yeah.
They are so desperate to see her. In Carmine's case, he wants to have sex with a woman who looks like his girlfriend but is not his girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to fuck a woman with amnesia. And that, boy, after the festival, this is his second worst episode of the season when it comes to behavior. Lord.
Yeah. And like, even though I haven't watched their videos in forever, but I remember Pop Culture Detective had that at least I liked it at the time, the Born Sexy Yesterday video.
Yeah.
And this kind of reminds me of that there's this, that's the idea, is like, now they have this element of like, suddenly she's, because she is incapacitated because she's not herself. She is a part of herself that's become dominant. That is this fantasy, inside of her head, this fantasy version of Roxy that Shirley is personifying. And it's amazing how fleshed out it is, that to the point that it reminds you that in canon universe, Shirley is this complicated dreamer. She comes with these really fantastical narratives and she's living out this character. But that also means this character, is only in essence, like, as a personality, as a person, is only a few days old because she hasn't actually done all these things for real. She hasn't actually stripped for bunches of people. She's not actually, the most popular, most famous exotic dancer in America or Egypt, Yeah. I mean, it's God. And so it's for her to say 10 years to become the best exotic dancer. I mean, what do you figure she is in this episode of the show? She's probably, how old is she? Like 24?
Yeah, right around there. They're almost around the end of 24, 25.
So
let me think. If they are 18, they should be about somewhere 22, 23, actually. I think. Double check our math. I think that's right.
You know what? I think you're right because they're the class of 56, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 56. This is at the latest. This is 1961.
Yeah.
So that means 5 years. 5 plus 7 or 5 plus 8 is 22, probably.
Yeah. Right there.
Yeah.
There you go.
So anyway, so yeah, no, exactly. It's because that's what's kind of sad about, in some respects, about the episode. If this was her privately. And actually, I almost this is one of those, if I was in charge, I would have made that the joke is that people are actually freaked out by Shirley acting and behaving this way, and that she thinks she's someone else, and they're not comfortable because to them they are seeing and hearing Shirley Feeney. And like I could even kind of see like, you know, like even like Squiggy would be into it. But I could see Lenny like almost getting into a fight with Squiggy saying, "No, this you can't do that. That's Shirley."
Yeah.
Like, first of all, what do you think Laverne's going to do to us? Second of all, what do you think Carmine's going to do to us?
Yeah, amazingly, Laverne does not murder the boys. Amazingly, this is not they're killing the boys.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus. I was gonna say, Lenny is way, way, way on board with this. The boys are both way, way, way on board with this whole idea, and they're so desperate to see her naked, they would probably walk across burning coals. I hope that the money that they apparently scrounged up for Roxy, the girl's kept.
Oh, yes.
That I hope happens.
Mm-hmm.
That I hope happens. Because apparently, I don't know what they had to do to get that money, but apparently they must have coughed up some money at some point. The show just skims right over that. But, geez, I'm amazed. This is one of those episodes where you're amazed that they forgive them. And you're amazed that, you know, it doesn't end with them with missing teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, at the very least, when she does a routine, she does wallop Lenny in the face.
Yeah. He almost falls out of his chair. Falls all the way back and loses his hat.
Yep.
Which would be cute in any other episode. It would be cute to watch the boys' reaction to this. The way Lenny's like being almost kind of shy, he almost can't watch it. He's giggling and kind of squirming down and hiding his face as she's stripping, and Squiggy's like leering and like lunging towards the stage. It's really cute in any other episode, except the whole setup is gross. The setup is just plain gross.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Oh gosh. And it's just interesting because it's yeah. I mean it's such a weird mix, man. It's like, you know, there's parts that are cute, that are hilarious. Yeah. I mean, as we kind of were mentioning, the audience is completely here for this shit. Yeah. I mean, they are into it.
Yeah.
I mean, me, all I got is just, you know, my little, you know, I like that she's got her Roxy rock to combat the Shirley shimmy, you know?
Yes.
You know, I mean, that's cute. Those are cute.
Yep.
The whole, like, have you felt this guy's chest? And it's like, I'm not allowed, you know?
Not allowed. My note on that is the chest rubbing. Jeez, audience.
Yeah, man.
This is going off. They were whistling. They were whistling at the sight of Eddie Mecca's chest.
But God, Carmine, for the love of God, she's not bad. I kind of like her.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did like. Okay, and this is okay. Like, here's another interesting thing. What's this girlfriend of his like anyway? And Laverne shows the picture of Shirley of herself, basically. Yeah. And I actually love Roxy's response because it's like this internalized self-perception where her internalized, like, eroticized self is actually really, not only is it so confident, it even finds herself attractive. Where she suddenly shouts like, you know, boy, is she some gorgeous broad, you know? It's like, you know, yeah, it's offensive by today's standards, but the point is that, you know, she finds herself sexy. She finds herself beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
God, it's like, if it could just be mangled in the right direction, this could actually be good. What the hell?
Yeah. I was gonna ask you, who do you think comes off worse in this episode, Carmine or the boys? Because, geesh.
Okay.
You have to think about it.
Okay, this is gonna take a minute because the boys have known her longer, so this is a little more wrong. In that because again, it's like one of those, like, yeah, they've always wanted to see her naked and all that kind of stuff, and you know, she was probably one of the first girls for them to notice, like, oh wow, women be different from men, you see. But Carmine abuses the trust of a relationship, whereas Lenny and Squiggy are, you know, scum. You know, they can be scum. You know,
they can be, depending on the episode, depending on the situation. Yeah.
But Carmine, I'm kind of mad at.
Like, the problem with Carmine in this episode is that he's basically looking at his girlfriend who trusts him, who loves him, who feels safe with him, And he's abusing that trust to the point where he is literally going to take her virginity.
Yeah.
Because this is what we're talking about here. While she thinks she's somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
That is creepy to the max. I mean, at least Lenny and Squiggy aren't trying to screw her. They just want to see her naked.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only line of morality. They're slightly better than him. At least they only just want to see her naked. He wants to actually have sex with her. And I'm not going to even, you can think about what the level of consent is here.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the level of consent he is violating here. Just,
Yeah.
oh,
It's layers and layers and layers of it. Yeah, it is incredibly horrifying.
Yeah.
Again, this is one of those, I understand that I'm not a comedy writer, I'm a more of a dramatic writer, but like I can also imagine the comedy that, like the kind of tragic comedy that could in some ways kind of come up about this is you think he's going to be the creep about it. You think he's going to take advantage of the situation. What if the episode starts where Carmine and Shirley have had this fight and he feels horrible. He knows it was his fault. He did something wrong. He started this big fight. And so when he comes back to her as Roxy and she's all over him, he's trying to get forgiveness. He feels truly guilty and feels bad. And she's trying to sexualize him. And, and sort of like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. And he's trying to get these, and he's sort of like, he actually has like the genuine moment of, you're nice, but I miss Shirley. You're not Shirley. I miss Shirley. That's sweet. That's romantic. That's you're a part of Shirley that I want, but her as a whole person is what I need. And that's because admittedly that's what it comes to at the end, which is that Laverne says that it's not a little Roxy on the weekends wouldn't hurt. And that's, I understand that's the point of the episode, is about the extremes. It's the extreme virgin versus the extreme slut. I mean, that's basically what they're trying to posit. And that's like, I get that. I would have liked, it would have been interesting to have seen that mirrored through the other characters' reactions to her and how, Carmine has his version of it. Even the boys have kind of their version of it where the thing is, they're going to maybe get to see her naked. But it's like, perhaps she wants to do the big show and then they kind of feel like, kind of guilty, like, wait, this is like, even just having the moment of Lenny saying to himself, like, Squiggy, why does this feel wrong?
Yeah.
you know?
They get to be and have squirmy squirmy feelings when it comes to their morality in a couple episodes. When we get to the bully show, which I'm not looking forward to at all. So those episodes where I'm actually not looking forward to showing you this episode. But
Oh, boy.
That's how bad it is. When it comes to consent issues, when it comes to near rape, it's actually upsetting and triggering for a lot of people. We will heavily warn for what happens when we discuss. There will be trigger warnings all over the episode. Yeah, the tough part about this episode is that it's got a lot of cute stuff in it, and yet gross message, incredibly gross message is attached to this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think that ultimately it reminds me of an article that I read on Tom and Lorenzo recently, that they talked about Grease and why the moral of Sandy changing herself so thoroughly into basically Danny's clone so she can keep him and keep this relationship with him, even though it's not healthy for her, it's not really, it's entirely changing who she is. It's reflective of the morality of the late 70s, where the best thing you could be is, into partying, freedom. It was all about sexual liberation. And that kind of ends up being reflected in this episode, where we are not allowed to be horrified at the boys' behavior, as horrified as we ought to be. I mean, Laverne is pissed. How could you do that to her? She asks.
Mm-hmm.
We don't hear the boys reply, thanks to the crowd noise. We don't get to be as angry at Carmine as we should be. The ultimate moral lesson is Shirley needs to loosen up more, and she kind of secretly enjoyed being Roxy. So, that's part and parcel of the way the era apparently was. I was not alive yet, so I wouldn't know.
Right. I'm just thinking of how, my reaction when I first saw Cronenberg's Shivers and If anyone's thinking, why the hell is he bringing up a David Cronenberg movie? It's a movie that technically, subtextually, is about STDs in the sexual revolution. That was the point of that movie's kind of basis.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of rampant sexuality throughout that movie, and part of what you see is that, because I remember thinking about it, in the context, is I was also finding out, I was reading more about like AIDS, the rise of AIDS and STDs and things like that, and HIV and stuff like that at the time, and realizing that because it's sort of, from a film from 1974, I want to say, or 73, he basically makes a horror movie that is about the idea that this wave of open sexuality and experimental sexuality gives birth to this wave of lunacy through a parasite that is created by a wacko sex maniac scientist, and creates this essentially a plague that's going to destroy the world. And the idea is about everybody being freed of this. Now, obviously, it doesn't affect children that way. The children become cannibalistic, and the people become either homicidal or sexually promiscuous. Yeah. But that was the thing, though, is that there was so much of this push, and I think that's why so many dramas about like infidelity and marriage problems and things like that were so popular in the 70s, was because I think, it was about the sex revolution, and there were those two sides. There was the everybody, let's have fun and party, and then there was the folks that are like, this is causing really tragic consequences on the family relationships and personal relationships of these people. Yeah. So it's kind of where it goes. And that's, I guess, the catch is this lands in a very Gary Marshall sort of way. It lands on, it has to be a happy ending.
Yeah.
As aspects of the episode, Shirley enjoying being Roxy isn't wrong. It's just that she has to come to that discovery for herself. I actually kind of like the way it ends with that conclusion, of her, she hides how she feels about it from Laverne, that she did know, and she's not going to tell her how it felt, and she probably did. She probably liked it, even though there's interesting implications that the bathroom door closes after they go in together, which is like, whoa, okay. But which is the other thing, is that there's these weird moments throughout this episode that kind of create these. They're moments that are definitely done as like bits. Like we've talked about the burlesque element of the show, where it has to do a bit. An example, for instance, is when Laverne gets her dress torn off trying to get up on stage, and she's kind of into it.
Yeah. This is Laverne's exhibitionist strength, which we discussed before.
Right.
Which shows up in previous moments in canon and ends up showing up later in the show, and various times and reasons, and in one case to the point where you're like, oh God, I wish this hadn't happened. But yeah, she's into it. She almost considers it, and then she just runs for it. And the boys at this point are like clinging to her legs, begging her to do it. So, oh God,
yeah, and so that's what I mean, is like those elements happen. They land as a joke, and then the deeper implications of it are discarded. And for a show that has done the work for character development, that has done the work for consistency, psychology, and to bring up sometimes these very real and very interesting issues. I mean, the fact that they're reading not just confessions, they're reading uncensored confessions. This is like, pretty smutty stuff that they're reading.
Yeah.
It's like how, and the idea is that they are aware of, I think actually, if I recall, I was commenting with you about this when we were talking about how it's interesting that people liked that pulpy, let loose. Everyone was so restrictive in the 40s and 50s, and the 50s especially, that, the defiance. Because, I mean, you and I, we check pulp art and stuff like that. We share that with each other and stuff, these. And sometimes they're fun, sometimes they're adventures, and sometimes, they're risque. Sometimes they're just outright semi-pornographic at times. Yeah. And we like them and appreciate them, but what they like and appreciate them at the time was definitely this case of, because to us, we're horror nerds, and we're into all this different creative stuff and these creative examinations of the human psyche. And for them, it's this, desire, even though they're quote unquote normie, normal. I almost said normie. Don't use that term, kids. But they also have a lust for the dark side. That being, and I appreciate that's being treated honestly, in the sense that, like, oh yeah, it's normal, but it's also that they're bringing up these issues and not somehow they're not integrating them against the then moralizing that they try to do. And then and as you're saying, that is the lack of punishment for those that take advantage of them when put in those situations themselves.
Exactly. There needs to be some kind of button, you know. There needs to be some kind of button on the situation. There needs to be something that makes everybody have a light bulb and go, oh, yeah, that was terrible. Even though it comes to a positive end and Shirley kind of goes, oh, yeah, I can be this person, but not be a bad person. And, yeah, there still needs to be some kind of punishment. God, there needs to be some kind of punishment. Though I will say this has one of my favorite door gags ever. The Desert Sun, I turned them into raving sex fiends. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Every time I laugh.
It's good. It's good. Yeah.
That's the boys sometimes.
I also did find it really sweet that Boo Boo Kitty almost snapped her out of it.
Yes. I know you. I know this. The boys come in with a record.
Yeah. Greetings and salivations.
Salivations. Yeah. It's all drums.
God, did you know? I love the bit with where Michael Lenny does the thing with the rotary phone with his drumming.
Yes.
You know, that was great.
Yeah. And then she drives them both nuts by playing with their hair, and they're like melting down to puddles in response.
Yep.
Oh,
God, the hair tugs and everything.
Yeah.
As you point out Lenny with his hand.
Yeah, he tries to bite his own palm, but he can't because it's still in the pocket of his jacket. So he has to bite the whole jacket. It's just that's such a good touch. That was a good and funny touch.
And as Squiggy said, if we ever could use a brain, now's the time.
Fine. That's fun. That's really cute.
Yeah, but I still say that looks like a super boring men's club, man. That just wasn't. Yeah.
Well, the positive thing about that is that they got a new suit for Lenny. That's a new shirt. I think that's a new jacket. That's definitely the tie he proposed to Laverne in. How dare you besmirch that? Anyway.
Oh man. God. I'm curious, like, has this episode ever been discussed in any interviews afterward?
No. I don't recall it being discussed widely.
I'm disappointed in that. If I ever had the chance to, I mean, if I was interviewing about the whole show, I would have to cover at least one or two questions about this.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I know it's getting on 40 years since this episode aired.
Yeah.
No, it is 40. It has been 40 years since this episode aired. Ay.
1976. Over that.
Yeah.
46 years. 46 years, right? No, 40. 43 years. 42 around there.
It's getting there. This was, let me just check. This episode aired. Let's get this, try to set it correct.
I think it aired in 79.
78. Aired 19th of September, 1978. And so therefore, it would be 42 years.
There you go. 2 years older than me. That's right. Yay, math. Yay.
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 Shh, come on, 2 years. No, it's 8 years younger.
Yes, if I lie back, all the
I'm trying to be a good boyfriend.
I know.
Anyway,
oh my God, I was gonna say, go ahead. Yes.
I'm still trying to process, because I mean I'm kind of out of things to talk about this episode. I'm trying to figure out how to process. How do I feel about this damn thing?
Well, I've got a couple of little things I want to mention.
Go for it.
I was gonna say the dialogue in this episode is really good. I liked the way you get things like the whole neighborhood would be gawking at you. I think so. The way Laverne's just like being really daring and Shirley's just like not having it until finally she falls down the stairs, and all of a sudden they have to reverse roles. This is the first time we get to see Laverne really in mom mode. Mostly it's
Mhm.
Shirley being in mom mode. We're gonna actually address that next episode. Mostly it's Shirley momming Laverne. Here Laverne has to mom Shirley. And that's a nice twist.
That is.
I really honestly do.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I loved everything with Dr. Schoenbroom, and for some reason that cracks the boys up the name. I love that he reacts to their story by saying, "Have a lolly," and the boys go, "Yes, sir." Shows the lollipops in their mouths.
Oh gosh, yeah, that was good. I did like that.
And Squiggy calls Shirley the little one. That
Yeah.
was a funny distinction. The little one.
God. And then it goes up to give the boys a sedative. Probably couldn't hurt in
Yes.
Squiggy's case.
Yeah, yeah. I have a specific note that mentions the faces the stupid faces the boys make whenever Shirley tries to take her clothes off. I like a lot. She thinks she's Roxy and she has a body. That's funny.
That's a good one. Yep. Oh man. Oh, and I do love that. I gotta practice my act. I'll stay here and do the old bump and grind. And then Laverne
Yeah.
looks at her. It's like, how does she do that? She's got no hiney.
Yeah. And then Laverne trying to jog Shirley's memory with a mother dance, and then
Oh,
Roxy
my-
says, "I like it. Doing the nude, and you're doing the nude, right?"
Oh man. I'm just imagining naked cartwheeling because that's
Yeah.
how the act finishes. It's like,
Yeah.
ay.
It's gonna be somebody's kink, not mine. It's gonna be somebody's kink.
I mean, I've seen naked cartwheels.
Oh.
They're interesting. They're on well hung dudes. They're actually kind of impressive.
I'm trying to picture it. Okay. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Think Viggo Mortensen in Eastern Promises. Hey,
Oh, yeah.
second Cronenberg reference. Bada bing.
There you go. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah.
I noticed that the boys, when they try to scramble for good seats to the prospective strip show, Squeaky starts going, "We know the girl. We know the girl."
Oh, I
So they
didn't
can
catch
get better
that.
seats. Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
That's a good touch.
Yeah.
Okay, I have two notes that I can mention. One is I did notice the kind of Louise Brooksy haircut on Shirley before everything
Yes.
goes down, so it's kind of a little telegraphing, which I'm wondering if that was intentional.
Possibly.
And I also when Cheryl goes limp, I called this is stupid. This very much says my age, which is I refer to as limp Shirlskit.
Oh. Cookie to wookie booker. Anyway. God. We as a society let Fred Durst happen. I just want to remind you all of that.
Oh my
We
god.
let him happen. We let that happen as a society.
God. Oh god. Sound like just thinking about that concept on the whole. I need a drink of waddy. Can you hold me up on the fridge door, honey? I need to.
Always.
God, yeah, I love the limp acting that Cindy does for that scene though, being all limp
Yes.
limp Shirlskit, is amazing. I mean, the slide on the fridge. I mean, you got to numb your body so much to pull that off, and you got to angle it just right without being noticeable. And then Penny keeping her wedged in the door. I mean, my mom mentions, it's a good thing she didn't break any bones.
Yeah. Gosh. Just imagine if she had broken some ribs falling down those stairs. That would have hurt like heck.
Oh yeah. Thankfully that's off camera. They probably just threw a box down the stairs for the sound. And that's right. Actually, I have a note. You pointed out you can hear Eddie laughing in the audience.
Yes. One thing I have noticed watching this show with headphones on, you can hear Michael David and Eddie laughing a lot on the soundtrack when they're not on stage. It's really fun. It's really sweet in a way because they're just enjoying the show just like we are.
Yep.
Eddie's very audible in this episode. He's got this big laugh.
It makes you think that those are probably the moments that, because God, you got to imagine that trying to stay, getting along, and trying to balance things out and not be at each other's throats.
Yeah.
Those are the times when it's like, you know what, I'm going to try to enjoy the show. And it's like, as much as I can, as much as they piss me off, they're talented as heck. And that's a great joke. It landed great. It pulled it off.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah, they managed to do. They managed to do that. They did manage to do that with this episode.
Yeah.
Cindy does such a great job in this episode. She's really good. Her acting, her being Roxy, she inhabits Roxy very well.
Mm-hmm.
And she manages to make her seem real and seem like an entirely different person from Shirley. So you gotta give her kudos for that. You gotta give her props for that.
Yep.
She did an
And
excellent
you can see because Cindy was trying to get into the new Hollywood, and she kind of made it because I mean, I forgot to mention this on the Dance Studio episode, but one of the places she actually knows Garrett, Nathan the Greek from, Meet, is they were both in Beware the Blob, and they both were in the party. They were in the party scenes together, I think. So So what's interesting about Cindy is like, because that was what kind of came to mind when I was watching this episode was like, yeah, you can kind of see where the new Hollywood side of her is kind of coming out a little bit. She's playing kind of it's kind of theater training. It's a little bit kind of, raw, but it is kind of unfortunate that you can kind of tell from the movies that she did at the time, there was a particular brand of new Hollywood that wasn't, well remembered. It wasn't incredibly successful. And it's not that they're bad movies; they're quite fun. Gas is a Gas is a blast. Beware the Blob's fun. The Killing Kind looks effed up and amazing. I really want to see that.
I'm just amazed that she made a slasher movie. I did not know she made a slasher movie.
And it's not even not just a slasher movie. It's a proto slasher movie. It's from like the same era as like Black Christmas before we even had the term for it yet. And so because it's from 72 or 73, right? That should predate TCM.
Yeah. It also predates Laverne and Shirley, obviously.
Oh, yeah, clearly. Yeah, I can't imagine her doing schlock like that after the show.
Oh, she did do schlock like that after the show. She did a movie called Bingo. I'm sure you remember what Bingo was like.
Yes, I do. Yes. With the dog movie. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I liked that movie a bunch as a kid because the dog was the same breed that my mom had a dog like that when she was growing up, and okay. Soft and sweet things after talking about proto slasher movies and one of the smuttiest episodes we've covered so far.
Yes.
We have fun here.
Yes, we do. Yeah, but she did lots of B movies afterwards. I was going to say, well, she did kind of she made it into the conversation. She's in the conversation that tells my aunt.
Which is sad that she's not remembered for that because everybody in that movie is amazing. Everybody in the movie is amazing.
Yes, she is. She's really good in it too. She's definitely good in it.
It is kind of, Gene Hackman at his prime and John Cazale. That's pretty easy to get overshadowed, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm trying to remember if I had anything else to say. Oh, I love the line, "This is our dump. You picked out this dump."
I love that. Yeah. I don't have to stay in a dump like this when I have this body.
Yes. I liked the way the boys reacted to the phrase life or death. Life and death. Life and death! That is an instant realization, no, something's really wrong, and they go chasing off to try to get help.
Shirley fell down the stairs. Well, why didn't she say so?
Why didn't she say so? Boys.
Oh, man.
Boys. I liked Laverne's Shirley's fear that Laverne actually likes Roxy better than her.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I love you, you're my friend, but it wouldn't hurt to be a little bit more like her, which is a weird, part and parcel of this whole Grease-like moral they were going for. Right.
And it's the sad thing because it's a case of that, because this is an interesting question I had coming. I'm glad I came back to this. You brought this back up because this reminded me of a question I've had about this episode. Do you think Shirley's happy repressing herself so much? Do you think that makes her feel safe? Does it make her feel happy? Does it make her feel satisfied? Or a combination of the three?
I think that in the end, what she wants is to be able to, like I told you, to go into higher echelons of society. To do that, she thinks she has to be quote-unquote pure. And that's why, I don't even know if she's happy about it. I would not specifically say she's doing something with Carmine, is all I gotta say.
Oh, yeah.
Something's happening with Karma. What? We don't know, but it's enough to be coded. Did I do that? Did it feel good? We don't know.
Yeah. She's had a taste of him or two.
Yeah. Yeah. And enough to notice his legs, which she makes note of. Gorgeous
Gorgeous legs.
It's a cute line, though.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah. I think in the end, she is as happy as she can be while also trying to hold on to her moral beliefs. She's trying to cling to this one value that her mother taught her, and that would be don't put out and be like me. Don't marry a man like your father. Don't find yourself with like 4 kids, home alone, trying to bring them up with no support and no husband around. So that's why she keeps trying to shove her up the social ladder. And I guess that's why that's how Shirley feels about it. She is filled with too much gumption and hope, and is in a way too content with karma to really be truly unhappy. But she also wants to know what it's like to be like Laverne and ride on the back of a motorcycle and be daring. So yeah, I say she's about as happy she's going to let herself be. I'll put it that way.
It's well said. Yeah. About as happy she's going to let herself be. Yeah. And it's a case of that and that's, as much as she likes to act as if she can try this and do anything, some of the things that she tries to do, she doesn't have fun with,
Yeah.
She's not good at, I mean, we saw in the obstacle course, she felt accomplished, but at the same time, it was like, it's not for her,
Exactly.
It made her happy to prove herself, to prove she could do it, but that's not what she wants as her personality. It's kind of like how I work out to lose weight, but I'm not a gym rat where it's my passion. Yeah. So I wonder if that's where, I wonder if that's where Shirley is at, is where it's like there's certain elements of her being aware of that's not exactly for me, even though that seems kind of fun. You know?
Exactly. Like she wants to read about what Roxy can do with her body. She might want to experience it once, but to make it a regular thing just isn't her kind of life. Not kind of bag. Yeah. I guess we're ready to rank this one.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
God. Oh my God. This is going to be hard.
I know how you feel.
I'm going to just to like kind of keep it even because I didn't hate it, which is surprising. I was expecting to hate it. 5.5. There's too many things that are too cute. The morality of the episode is pretty twisted and in an inconsistent sort of way. So like, I don't mind twisted morality stories. I mean, I've watched some pretty wild films. I mean, be careful with safe search on, but I've seen a Joe D'Amato film or two, and and those are fun, and I enjoy those. But it's for this show, it creates an unfortunate inconsistency. 5% seriousness, 95% jokes. I would have preferred more like an 85% jokes or 80% jokes and 20% serious. Yeah. Because it feels out of balance. Yeah. And again, men are terrible. and I say that as a cis male, it's awful. And I think that men need to stop, abusing women that way and taking advantage of them. It's horrible. I am not going to say that I've never done it. I will say that, I've been, I'm not going to make this some big confession, but just that I have been shitty, and I try not, and my point is to own up to it and try to be less shitty in the future. I hate that because as a sitcom, these guys acted poorly, morally repugnant, and they get away with it, are forgiven for it, and the rest of the show is just going to go on like nothing happened.
Yeah, it's really annoying. It's annoying in that it needs some kind of tact. Really. This episode is a 5 flat for me. This is a 5 flat for me. The boys needed to be punished more. They needed a more solid comeuppance. Carmine kind of needs more of a comeuppance, even though he kind of gets embarrassed, which good. I don't like the grease-like moral. What stands out for me is the humor, though. There is a wonderful door gag. It's probably my favorite door gag.
Mm.
There's some great jokes. I love the character of Roxy in general. Everything else that happens in the episode is a choice. Not the best choice.
Yep.
So yeah. So it's a 5 flat for me. Oh, show, do better. Do better, show.
Yeah. It's gosh. So, I guess with that wrapped up, man, now I feel down. Now I got to get my energy back up. Okay. Thank you everyone so much for joining us down this dismal noir feeling trip down smut lane that somehow referenced Cronenberg, Ed Wood, among other things. If you would like to know more about the show, about our podcast at Night After Night, or you would just like to gab at us about Laverne and Shirley or other movie stuff, because we're total freaking nerds, you can find us on Facebook, Tumblr, Patreon, or WordPress at Night After Night Pod, or Night After Night PC on Twitter. I think even Night After Night Podcast on Twitter should probably help you find us. But we're hoping to hear from you folks. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We thank you so much for listening and being here with us. And good Lord, what the hell have we got next now, Lisa? Help.
Well, some more interesting things happen to girls when it comes to morality. Laverne hooks up with Jacob the Purple Fiends, who we've already met in The Slow Child, and ends up getting involved in armed robbery. And Shirley and Carmine nearly do it. This is the robbery.
Okay. So we went from... Okay. So wait, we just went from the sexploitation episode to now the bikersploitation episode?
Yep. Yes, we do. Bikersploitation, baby.
I think I'm kind of okay with that.
Yeah, it works.
It happens.
It happens.
All right. Anyway, well, hopefully you'll be back to join us for a very special knuckle duster of an episode.
Bye, y'all.